and welcome to the Happier Marriage Podcast, a podcast for spouses longing to have a happier marriage so they can feel more connected, desired, and supported. Now, to start the show, here is your host and Sherpa, licensed marriage and family therapist and certified relationship coach, Kingsley Grant.
Thanks for joining me on the Happier Marriage Secrets podcast. This is episode 44, and in this episode, I'll be sharing with you 5 creative ways to show your spouse you care. 5 creative ways to show your spouse you care. Now, you may be thinking, I already do enough for my husband or my wife, right? Or I don't have the time or money to do something extravagant. But trust me, these ideas that I'll be sharing with you are practical, they're easy, and what they'll do is leave your partner, your husband, your wife, feeling loved and appreciated. Now, I understand life can be busy and it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day routine. I know, I too find that to be true in my own life, and life gets in the way. But it will get in the way of everything if we allow it to. We have to decide what's important and what we should muscle our way through, push through to make those things happen if they are as important as we think and as we say they are. So let's tackle now some of the objections and excuses and that, as I just mentioned, that are in the way. And what we're going to do is discover how you can show your spouse you care in a way that's meaningful and achievable. Now, before I share with you, I'm asking you to do what I call a spousal honor, meaning doing something to show your appreciation for getting this episode like this one with such incredible value that I try to pack in all of these episodes. And here's the good news, all for free. Now, the spousal honor is taking a few minutes to leave a rating and a review on the platform on which you listen to this podcast. That is the least I believe you can do in return. And I hope you'll agree with this sentiment, right? Now, to make sure you don't miss any of the episodes in this series, subscribe to the show today. And if you missed any of the past episodes, let me strongly encourage you to bookmark this episode this podcast, so you can quickly access past shows, and you can always go to Happier Marriage Secrets, happiermarriagesecrets.com/podcast, and you'll be able to access all the past episodes at your heart's desire on demand as you see fit. Now, if this is the first time you're listening to me, let me say this. You may or may not agree with all that you'll hear, and quite frankly, I believe that all those who listen to this podcast are smart enough to figure things out for the most part on their own. So I don't expect you to agree with everything, but I expect you to process and to have an open mind and to put aside sometimes your biases so that you can actually hear what it is I'm saying, and then you can do with it from a very open mind, unbiased way, do with what you think is necessary or is right for you. Now, so you might be triggered by some of what you'll hear on this episode. But remember, that's one of the purpose of this show. Stir things up and then taking you from what I call a solid landing. And you can always be sure that we'll land safely and solidly. And you can always share your thoughts through commenting through an email you may send to us, which the announcer will tell you how to access that at the end of this episode. And you can also, wherever you see on social media, just comment there. That'd be a great way for us to kind of interact and dialogue. Now, this show is brought to you by KingsleyGrant.com. And our hope is that you will be challenged, inspired, and encouraged in this episode as in every other episode. So KingsleyGrant.com and sponsoring the show. And you can always go there and have access to all the resources that you'll find on that website. With that said, my friend, I want you to stay tuned for us to get into this episode of the 5 creative ways to show your spouse that you care. Stay tuned.
So, the big question is this. How is it possible that you have a happier marriage when you feel like you've tried everything? Your spouse isn't making an effort. You're exhausted. You feel like giving up. Or there's so much hurt that's taken place between you and your spouse. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of Happier Marriage World? I hope you're ready for another round of the Happier Marriage podcast. And today we're tackling the topic of 5 creative ways to show your spouse you care. Just to remind you that you can also watch video episodes of topics like this one on my YouTube channel. And if you go to kingslegrand.com/YouTube, kingslegrand.com/YouTube, it'll take you right to that channel, and you can watch at your heart's content all the episodes that I've done there, all the video broadcasts I've done there, and like topics like this one and a whole lot more. Now, make sure to smash the subscribe button when you do go there. Hit subscribe. Let's add your name. Make that list grow, and I'm depending on you to do that. Click on the like button and also the notification bell so you don't miss on any of the future broadcasts that is being done on that channel. All right. You can also see what I call it, YouTube Shorts, right? YouTube Shorts are just clips of my podcasts, clips of my videos that you'll find there for 60 seconds or so, and you can get a point being made and just absorb that. If you also are into that, just go there and watch it as well, the YouTube Shorts. Okay? All right, let's go. So let me simply say thanks for joining me on this episode. As you've already heard, we're talking about the 5 creative ways to show your spouse you care. Now, having counseled literally hundreds of couples, counseled and coached those over the past several years as a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified relationship coach. And from what I've experienced as a husband myself of almost 4 decades, I believe I'm able to talk about topics like this one with confidence. And I hope you'll appreciate me bringing both my personal and professional experience to the table. So what are the 5 creative ways to show your spouse you care? Well, I want to just give you up front just a caveat and to say that what I'm sharing with you, I don't do all of these. I want to make sure you understand that I want to be very transparent. I don't do all of these. I do some of them. And so I'm not expecting you to do all of these either. You can choose to pick one, pick 2. There's just a way of saying at least a starting point, at least having something to do to show your spouse that you care, because sometimes you get caught up in this whole thing, like you've been doing it, and somehow they have not recognized it. Maybe what you're doing is not hitting the target. Maybe it's not what resonates most with them. Maybe it's not about just doing it. It's about doing what makes them know that you care. Again, it's not for you to decide whether or not what you did is a caring gesture. Yes, from your perspective, it's a caring gesture, and I want to say that I get it. However, you can't do the test and grade the test as well, right? Whoever does that. Now, I would love to. I'm sure you would too. But we can't do the test and then grade the test ourselves. So once you've done the test and you've done the creative way of showing your spouse that you care, or he or she cares, then you have to allow them to then grade that and give you the feedback to tell you whether or not that was exactly on track, on target, or it was not, right? So here's the 5 things I've listed here, and I would love to hear from you what your thoughts are at the end, maybe through an email or a comment, some way that you either disagree, agree, or add something there that I would have not thought about or didn't think about that you would add to this list. Now, of course, we could have gone on forever and ever going about, finding, so many different things to talk about, but I just kind of picked 5 that I think was very practical, a no-brainer, right? That's what it is, no-brainer, and doesn't take a lot of energy or thoughts. Yeah, it does take some thoughts, right? But not a whole lot of energy to get it done, or at least would also be very cost effective. So the first thing I have here is leave little love notes around the house or wherever you think your spouse will possibly be able to get to or find it or see it. You don't want to hide. It's almost like when we play hide and seek as a child, and then you would hide things and don't even remember where you hid it, right? Or we hide things where we know that person can never find it. So it's not about a hide and seek. Make sure you write it and leave it in a very conspicuous place where you know your husband or your wife is likely to find that love note, right? So it's important that you don't hide it in a place and say, well, they're going to have to look for it and search. No. Because again, you'll be upset that then they haven't found it. A day has gone by, 2 days, a whole week and a half, 3 weeks. And you're upset. How come they haven't found that note? And you're anxious or you're upset that they haven't found it. So leave it where you know that they can have access to it or will find it easily. And it could just a little note, again, like I said, so many couples have shared some of these things with me, and they're really just a little thing. I love you. I'm cheering you on. It's I really whatever. Just little love notes. I tell them I appreciate you. Thanks for something. Those are what I call love notes, right? So it doesn't have to always be mushy and gushy. It could just be a way of saying thank you, an appreciation, a recognition, an acknowledgement. That kind of stuff is I call a love note, because they would not have heard otherwise than you writing that down. Number 2, surprise your spouse with a thoughtful gift. A thoughtful gift. Now, not every spouse really see a gift as a way of what makes them feel loved or cared for. So again, I'm giving you a list of things, and you have to find out what works best for your spouse, because everybody have a different way. We call it love language of what really resonates with them. So you can surprise them, but I think everybody in general likes to be thought of, and you buy a thoughtful gift. So imagine you went to the store and just saw something that you say, hey, my wife might like this, or my husband might like this. And it's not something that you have done on a regular basis. It's kind of different. It's out of the norm. And you just spend a few dollars. It doesn't have to be so, anything extravagant or expensive, just a few dollars. And you surprise them with a thoughtful gift. It's a thought behind it to know that you thought about them. They'll get a message. You don't have to drill it in, just the message of simply saying, you thought about me. It could be their favorite flowers. I'll give you a quick example. My wife, she's from time to time okay with flowers. Sometimes she doesn't really care about investing too much in that, because she will say they're going to die. And, but sometimes after a long period of time, I'll pick some flowers up and I bring it home, and she'll just gush and be so much, into that, because she said, wow, it was very thoughtful and very nice of me to have done that. Right. And so it made a special impression on her. She knows I was thinking about it. She didn't really mention it at all and even hinted at it. So I just kind of did it out of the blue, so to speak. And then I surprised her with that. So that's one way to also let your spouse know that you care. Number 3, plan a special date night or date day. Depends on your schedule, of course, or a weekend getaway. And it's something that's really special to your spouse. Now, I can tell you something that how, thoughtful. My wife did something recently. It was my birthday. I celebrated a birthday, and in February of this year. And so if you're listening to this, we're now as I record this, we're now in April, so it's February. And we had planned a cruise, and I know that the plans were in place. I knew about the plans in general. What I did not know was she had planned to have a member of our family there with us. I had no idea. So we had this planned, but what made it so special was, of course it's special to get away with her and her with me. We've done that, and it's special. It's really refreshing. We've always talked about it, time and time again, and gush about it because it was so special. But to have her plan it out with another member of families to come along with us and surprised me. And I had no idea that she was planning this. So can you imagine? And I remember we were sitting down at dinner, and we were on this cruise and sitting down at dinner the first night. And I guess she was having this conversation with her family, it was her sister and her family. And I didn't know. And we were sitting down with a group of people, as they would do on a cruise. They would ask you, would you mind sitting with a table with other people? And I said, no, fine. We'll sit there and then we'll enter into conversation, get to know some people on the cruise, which we'd normally do. And sitting at the table, my we sat down to start eating, and all of a sudden, of course the ship had not yet left, hadn't embarked yet. It was still there. And we were just kind of, getting our evenings of our meal. And I felt a tap on my shoulder. And this person leaned over and, they call me Kings as for short. And the person said, "Hey, Kings." And I looked around and I did a double take. I really was in this state of shock. I could not believe it. I'm wondering, what is my sister-in-law doing here? What is she doing on the ship at this time? How did they allow her to get on board? And now that happened in a quick, of course, how quickly that happened. I never even had time to think about it too much. But in a fraction of a second, all those thoughts went through my head. And when it dawned on me that what she had planned with my wife had planned was to encourage them to be a part of that, invite them, and they wanted to be a part themselves because they wanted to go on a cruise themselves too. So why not use that special time? And it was a blast. That was very special. And I had no idea. So that getaway became even much more so a very memorable one for all of us. But for me, especially because of my birthday being celebrated, it was her birthday as well, because we celebrate the same month and basically the same day, not the same year, but the same day we were born. And I want to even spend time, you go figure that out. How does that happen, right? Anyway, that's how our lives, kind of intertwined. And so we were celebrating our birthday, but she made that it was mine because on that particular day, it was actually my birthday. So what happened was, well, I did say on my birthday, meaning that we take turns, let's put it that way. We take turns each year to celebrate each other's day. So that was my turn. That's what I meant to say earlier. And so that was very special. So planning that let me know she put thought into it. She really planned it out and pulled it off. That was very memorable. So when you plan a special date night or a weekend getaway, it's going to be something special for your spouse. Now, sometimes when you plan a date night, and it can get a bit awkward, right? Because you don't know what to do while you're on a date. I've seen so many couples, and I'm sure you have as well, on their phones, doing everything else other than spending time talking with and to each other. Have that ever, you've seen that, right? And you wonder, man, here they are on this date and they're not even talking to each other or even looking at each other. They're very much glued in their phone. And sometimes it happens because they don't know what to talk about. And maybe that is you as well. So one of the things I've done to help couples with this very thing is created a deck of conversational cards. I call it Connect Strong, that is designed to put an end to not having something to talk about. Right? It's also designed, it has prompts and questions that allow you to have deeper connection. So it's more than a deck of cards. It's really a tool for deeper connection and more intimacy. That's what it is. It's a tool for deeper connection and more intimacy. And if you're interested in this, which I think you are, you can get your own deck of conversational cards at kingslegrant.com/cards, kingslegrant.com/cards. So when you're on your next date, you will have something in your hand to actually engage your spouse in a conversation. And it's done in a fun and meaningful way. So you are going to really enjoy it. And it's not going to spoil your date. It's not going to kill that killjoy. It's designed not to do that, but it will create dialogue. And you can get the whole PDF that explains how to get the maximum use of the cards. So I want to encourage you to get it at kingslegrant.com/cards. Now, the next on the list is take on a household chore or simply do an errand without being asked. How many times I have seen where when I have some more time on my hand, I'm more flexible in my schedule as work is concerned than my wife is. And so I have a little bit more downtime, or let's put flex time. So sometimes I will be able to, at home, I work from home, she does not. And so what happened is I can do some things around the house. So maybe it is, I may have a gap in my schedule and I'll mop the floor or sweep the floor. Now you said, well, hello. Well, shouldn't that be something that you do, Kings? Come on. This is not, this whole traditional thing and this, male domination. No, get off of that. Get over that. That's not what I'm trying to imply here. So let's not even go down that path. It's simply that in every household, chores are divided, right? A husband and wife, you're going to divide chores and decide who does what as a team. Which team do you have? I'm a soccer player, and a soccer player as a team, we all have our designated roles. I was a person who played at times defense on the right side. I was more stronger on my right side, or I play on the offense, I play on the right side. So when I was given that task, that's where they expect to find me every single time in the game. Now, we run crisscross pathways, but eventually they'll know where I'm supposed to be on the right side. And when they call a play or do a play on the soccer field, I better be there to do my role. That's how every team has roles. And so this is what I believe husband and wives need to have, is roles in their relationship. So we have designed, and it works for us. This is what happens. So mostly she takes care of the inside of the house. I take care of outside the house. We at times cross path and help each other out in different ways. So imagine now the house, the floor, the tiles are getting dirty, need to be swept or to be cleaned, to be mopped. And I decided to have more time on my hand, and I begin to mop the floor. I mop the floor and sweep the floor. And she come home and said, "Wow, honey, the floors are so clean. Thank you." And I would say, "You're welcome." Because again, she would say, "Thank you." Why? Because she knows that primarily that is a role that we have decided on in the relationship. So when I take on a household chore like that, to show my appreciation for the hard work and her dedication, and to show that, it's not above me to do something like this, that makes it very special. So that's another way to show that you care and you're thinking about your spouse, right? And showing appreciation for their hard work and dedication, and to know that this is what they would do if you did not do that for them. And the last one is show your spouse physical affection. Now, I want to say this is where I fall short many times, and because it's not something that is in my native language or my native habitat, meaning that I'm not a very affectionate. When I say I am affectionate, but compared to my wife, it would seem like I'm not, right? Because she is more the affectionate type. And so it's nothing for her to come and to hug and to cuddle and to give me a kiss. It's easy for her. For me, I have to be intentional. It's just something I spoke about this on other podcast episodes before. So if you've been following me, you've heard me kind of unpack this whole thing and why this is so. So I won't take time to talk about this and about why this is the makeup, but just understand that it's truly something that I had to be more intentional at. But what happened is when I do it, because I'm not the ready to go type like she does, to just come up and do the hugging and so on, the affectionate stuff. Then when I do it, it means special because I had to make a very special effort to make it happen. For her, it's natural. I get it all the time. So it just becomes a norm, and it's not as special as if she did something that was outside of the norm. But so when I do it, it becomes a very special thing for her. So showing your spouse physical affection is one way to tell them and communicate care, that they matter, that they are loved and appreciated. And so I want to encourage you to experiment with some of those things that are a bit is outside of your comfort zone. It don't take you away from your everyday norm. And I want to challenge you on that and to see what difference that might make for you. Now, which of these 6 ways of showing your spouse that you care that you're gonna do, or which have you been doing? Is there one that kind of pop out to you? Now, I'd like to know. So I want to encourage you to send me an email or DM me on IG, Instagram, or on Facebook. Let me know. And if you have a question or want to comment, then please do that there as well. The announcer will tell you shortly how to also connect with me through an email, and you can listen to that as well, but also tell you about how you can get a very special gift. So I do hope, as I go over this list, is real quickly again, all these 6 creative ways is leave little love notes around the house, surprise your spouse with a thoughtful gift, plan a special date night or weekend getaway, take on a household chore or errand without being asked, show your spouse physical affection. Right? Did I say 6? I meant 5. I'm so sorry. 5 creative ways. I apologize. I don't know where I get, I didn't announce 5 at the beginning and I just say 6 shortly, but 5 creative ways. Which of these are you now doing or will you experiment with? Let me know that your thoughts on this. So my friend, thank you for taking the time to spend here with me. And I want to say one last thing. Remember, if you want and have not yet taken the marriage assessment quiz that tells you about the state of your marriage, remember that is available to you and you can get access to that in less than 90 seconds. And it's designed to gauge the state of your marriage and give you a numeric number. And you also will get a downloadable PDF that explains what that number means and what your next step would look like, right? 4 zones, identify what are the 4 zones you might be in and what you might need to do as a result of being in that zone. So you can access that quiz at happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz, happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz. And all the links I mentioned today will be in the description that follows this episode. So you can always have that to access. So thanks again for listening. And again, the announcer will tell you how to get a free gift just for staying to the end. Now, let's go and make marriages happier again.
We've come to the end of another exciting show, and if you enjoyed this podcast, 1, make sure you give this show a rating and review. 2, subscribe to the show to get all new releases. And 3, get your complimentary copy of the 5 Secrets to a Happier Marriage ebook at kingsleygrant.com/HMS ebook. Again, it's kingsleygrant.com/HMS ebook. See the link in the show notes. Do it today. Don't delay. Thanks so much for listening, and make sure you tell one other spouse about this show, or better yet, share it with them. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May he turn his face toward you and give you his peace, both now and forever.